Hello, folks. Welcome back to announcements. So I'm going to talk about Module 1 and just review through some things, but I do want to tell you that your essays are marked. I'll release them after I release this video, and hopefully then you won't panic so much. Um, don't freak out about this, but a lot of you are going to be having a conference with me. Hopefully they're not painful, but they are required by my syllabus. And I want to show you where that is. So let me go over here to your course, go in here to this, share. Hopefully you can see that. Let me make sure. Yeah. Okay, so here we are in a course. I'm in here as a student. Scroll down. There's lots of interesting stuff in here, by the way. Scroll down to, I know it's so long, the course information module. Theoretically, you went through that at the beginning of the course, but just in case you missed it, open it up, scroll down to the course syllabus, click on it, and it'll launch out. And so let me get this where it's better to see. All right, so scroll down to page 4, and that's where the academic honesty stuff is. Now, for most of you, you weren't trying to be dishonest, but a lot of it's technically plagiarism. And sometimes you'll have professors like your history professor, they're just happy if you make an attempt to cite it. And then there's other people who are really strict, and maybe they're not very happy in their personal life or something, but they will get you for the least little infractions. So here are all the definitions. Even turning in your same paper that you've turned in previously in another class is called recycling. And yes, you wrote it, but you didn't write it for this particular class. And I can't remember the name of the guy right now, but there have been famous examples of people who were exposed for basically recycling, like they wrote a blog on something and then they sold an article in a different publication that was substantially the same stuff. There were a lot of verbatim things just swapped out, and they lost their jobs for it. So it's something for you to be aware of. And really, I mean, why are you in this class if you're not here to learn, right? So I know that you're busy, and I know that a lot of times essays feel like they're stupid, and I apologize on behalf of my profession for that. But do try to do your own work, and if you're having trouble keeping up, then please reach out to me. I'm really not scary. So anyway, this is how you get to it. Even if you hadn't read this, though, I'm going to exit out of this now. This is still kind of, putting a works cited page on anything that you use sources for, like the quotes, even, just as your hook. That's just a basic academic convention. A couple of people you did email me and they did it, maybe not quite correctly, but that's why we're having conferences. It's kind of a basic, thing, like you type your essay rather than writing it in crayon, right? So just know that for the future. Just because someone didn't make a big deal about it, you just have to do it for everything from now on in your college work. So let's review citation and source integration a little bit, because that's why we're having conferences, as I said. So first of all, what gets cited? Verbatim text from a source, word for word, put it in quotation marks. You can do it in a couple of different ways. We'll talk about that in a minute. Also, paraphrase text, stuff that you put into your own words, but it came from a source. And AI can be a source, so I'll show you that in a second. Where do you cite? You have to cite at the point you used it in the text. You can't just, slap a works cited page on the end and expect that to save you. It has to match up. So whatever you have in text, I should be able to find that name on your works cited page. That's why it's in alphabetical order. That's why it's hanging indented. So there's that. And then, so you use it at the point that you used it in the text, and then you also have to have it on the works cited page. And if you use a source where the person, like, you're reading a history book or something, and they quote Abraham Lincoln. Well, you want to use the Abraham Lincoln quote because it's cool. So you say Abraham Lincoln once said, put it in quotation marks, then you have to cite where you got it, and you would say QTD period in, and then, maybe that author was Smith. And so that's how you take care of it. You give the credit as you're doing it as kind of a signal phrase, and then you put it in parentheses. So that's how all that works. So I'm going to go over here now to the Penn State Libraries page, because there's just a lot of good stuff on there that I can maybe show you pretty quickly. So go over to here, share application screen. There we go. All right, so yeah, I'm going to put this into the announcement so that you can use this, because it just had a lot of good stuff on here. So in-text citation, scroll down here, you can see the parenthetical. That's one way to do it. And there's, and then they kind of show you, like in this example, there's Derwing et al. And Thomas, and Derwing et al. And Thomas are in the references. We call them works cited. I don't know why that's weird. If you scroll down, you can see things like citing web pages in a text. And notice here, I wish I could get rid of that Ask a Librarian. Let me pull that up. That didn't help a lot. Like here where it has the all things Nittany, that's an example of something that was that didn't have a named author. So it's cited in the works cited like this, just by the title. And sometimes the title is really long, and then you can use the first couple of words of the in quotation marks in parentheses. So there's that. And then what else do I have here? So they call signal phrases in the narrative up here. So they have the author's names here, and that they found that, and then blah, blah, blah. And then maybe there's a page number. And then those folks, again, are in the works cited page. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. If you have a really long quote, more than 4 lines of text, then you would do a block quote. I'll let you Google that. AI citation. So in this also, there was a place for citing generative AI, and it gives some examples. So this is what I want you to see. So for AI, if you just use Grammarly to, kind of clean up your text or whatever, all you need to do is put a statement, put it at the bottom of the works cited page as its own, like open up a couple of lines and stick it there. And it needs to say something like, I used Grammarly to perform a spelling and grammar check after my draft was completed. I'd like to know more than just that you used it to clean things up. When in your process did you use it? So did you use it after the draft was completed, or did you do something like, I used Grammarly to generate alternative wordings while I was drafting, period. And that's fine. Identify which Grammarly it was, like the free or the premium, as part of that. But if you use the AI to get an outline or to brainstorm, then you need that kind of statement. Like I use GPT 3.5 to help me identify points for my outline. If you could use a more extensive statement like that, but if you use any specific idea that the AI gave you, or you used, and that's kind of what this is showing here, that T.S. Eliot's poem uses symbolism to do this. And then you see how it's cited. Describe the use of symbolism. That's the prompt that this person used to get it. And then the way it matches up to the works cited page is this. Describe the use of blah, blah, blah in quotation marks. Call it a prompt here. Let me scroll it up. Yeah. And then so you have it in quotation marks. That's your prompt. And then you say that it is a prompt and period. And then you tell which AI it is, which version, and all of that. Just like this. So that's how the AI stuff works. And now, another thing I would love for you to work on, and maybe this page helps you with that too. I'll just go in here for right now. Work on your source integration. So if I said that particularly on your paper, if you said something like, as stated by John Smith or something, or this quote, we never talk about this quote in academic writing. You're quoting them. And so this quote doesn't show anything. In an article, it says that. Articles don't say anything, people do. So start paying attention to how people give credit to sources in the things that you're reading. or scroll through some of these examples and get an idea of the different ways that they do it. And that should help you too. Another thing, don't cite by publication. If I scroll down here, let me actually go to an article here for this one. Scroll down here to the New York Times. There's a name for that person, and don't just put their name in parentheses and say, in an article in the New York Times, blah, 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 Nicholas Baclar or whatever. You need to, if you feel like you need a signal phrase, you need to be using their name. So Nicholas Baclar says whatever. New York Times has millions of articles, and so that's why we don't cite by it. So again, start paying attention to what you're seeing, how other things are being cited. I would say that if you don't have an author in your article, for if the usually that's more on a web page. If you don't have an author, then it's easier to cite with the parenthetical citation and use the quotation marks around the shortened title. So anyway, let me get out of this again. And now, so if you had any problems with any of these kinds of things, we'll be having a conference. I'll get you straightened out. A couple of people with like more serious issues, I might require you to resubmit a corrected essay in order to just get a baseline grade, and then you can revise from there, just like anyone can. Remember that for revision, you only get one shot at it. So if you're not clear what you need to do and all the things that are required, please have a conference with me anyway. I'll be happy to help you out with that. I'll also try to make a separate video that walks through my expectations, so you can read that, watch that too. So other issues here, making sense was a big one. What I'd ask you to do is just read your work aloud to someone, and it should make sense to them, and it should make sense to you as you're reading it, and it should be pretty easy for you to read. If you're tripping over words all the time, maybe you need to work on, making it less convoluted and things like that. So, and if the sense is missing on either side, then revise. And you can revise more than once. Probably you should. Logic. This is not quite the same thing, but sometimes thoughts didn't flow logically from, like you would say, this tells us that, and then what you said after that didn't match with what you'd been saying in the text. Thesis issues. There were some really difficult to read theses there. Parallel structure was a big deal. I have to say that I think the sample essays were pretty flawed in that regard, and I think I kind of warned about that in a previous announcement, so I won't do that again. Basic formatting surprised me. Some people didn't even double space, so definitely do that. 1-inch margins. I'll show you a sample paper here in a minute. Another thing that was a problem is some were just not the genre that was assigned. I had some, some of them, they weren't definition essays. Some of them were really good informative essays about a topic. Some of them were like trying to prove that your term or something is important in the world in some way. And that's more of an illustration essay. So I did try to warn you about that at an earlier stage. And so I want to go now and just show you how to see your feedback and how to listen to it. So let me go over here to this one and share. All right, I'm in here as a student. I'm going to go to the grade book. You can see a lot of red in here. I'll work with you if you're in this situation, especially if you're ill. And so the one that I have, like all of these just show that I haven't turned it in. This one I haven't graded it yet, except I should have graded it. It should be in here. Start attempt 2. I do not know why that didn't post. Oh, I bet I do. Never mind. I'm going to stop this, and I'll make a second video to show you, because I really did this for a long time. It's a long take. So I'll do this in another video and show it to you and show you where to click to get to my feedback, because that was the thing I was wondering in some cases, is if you had actually listened to my feedback, because I did warn you. One final thing I want to do here before I go, I'm going to go back over here, and I want to just share a sample MLA essay with you. This is an old one. It's been out on the internet forever. I used to teach it all the time. like you need your MLA heading here, your name, my name, the course name, and the date. Your name and the page number at the top right. A title centered at the 5th line down. This one is a long title, so it went to 2 lines. And then indent your paragraphs and double space. And you can actually use this to see some pretty decent source integration. There's even an example in here of QTDN later. There's also the long quote called a block quote. That's here too. And let's see if I can find the QTD. There's one I think near the end. Here it is. So in this paragraph, the spokesperson who happened not to be named maybe in this particular thing, this is what they said, and then QTDN, and then the name of the author for that one. And then, so there's a couple in here. This actually is a better example near the end where someone is being quoted because they said something really interesting, and this tells who said it, and then again QTDN, the other one. So that's kind of an example of that. And then of course your works cited page should look like this. If you don't know how to do a hanging indent, then let's figure that out soon, because that needs to happen in here. So anyway, let me know if you have any questions. I'll make another video showing how to get to my feedback, and I'll post that out too. Anyway, thanks y'all.